U.S. President Donald Trump has described North Korean leader Kim Jong-un as a pretty smart cookie. Speaking to CBS, he noted Mr. Kim had assumed power at a young age, despite dealing with some very tough people. Amid escalating tensions over North Korea's nuclear program, he said he had no idea whether Mr. Kim is sane. The North Korean leader had his uncle executed 2 years after he came to power, and is suspected of ordering the recent killing of his half-brother. President Trump, asked what he made of the North Korean leader, answered, "People are saying, is he sane? I have no idea. But he was a young man of 26 or 27. When his father died. He's dealing with obviously very tough people, in particular the generals and others. And at a very young age, he was able to assume power. A lot of people, I'm sure, tried to take that power away, whether it was his uncle or anybody else. And he was able to do it. So obviously, he's a pretty smart cookie," Mr. Trump said. The interview follows North Korea's second failed ballistic missile test in 2 weeks, in which a missile exploded shortly after it was launched on Saturday. When asked why the missiles keep blowing up, Mr. Trump said, "I'd rather not discuss it." He referred to previous comments he has made about other military issues, such as the battle to retake the Iraqi city of Mosul from so-called Islamic State. "We shouldn't be announcing all our moves," he said. "It is a chess game. I just don't want people to know what my thinking is." North Korea is believed to be continuing efforts to militarize nuclear warheads and fit them on long-range missiles capable of reaching the U.S. Tensions in the region have increased lately, with both North and South Korea conducting military exercises. America sent warships to the region and began installing a controversial anti-missile system in South Korea earlier this week. North Korea has carried out repeated missile tests in recent months and is threatening to conduct its 6th nuclear test. President Trump said the U.S. was not going to be very happy if further tests were carried out. When asked whether this would mean military action, he said, "I don't know. I mean, we'll see." Mr. Trump said the Chinese President Xi Jinping, an ally of North Korea, was putting pressure on Mr. Kim to scale back his nuclear and military activities. "But so far, perhaps nothing's happened, and perhaps it has," he said. He again hailed the ties he has been developing with China, which he criticized heavily during his election campaign. "The relationship I have with China, it's been already acclaimed as being something very special, something very different than we've ever had," Mr. Trump said. In February, China banned coal imports from North Korea, one of the country's key exports, and is reportedly also considering restricting oil shipments if Pyongyang continues to behave belligerently. President Donald Trump labeled brutal North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un a pretty smart cookie in a wide-ranging interview aired Sunday. At a very young age, he was able to assume power. A lot of people, I'm sure, tried to take that power away, whether it was his uncle or anybody else. And he was able to do it. So obviously, he's a pretty smart cookie, Trump told CBS News in an interview on Face the Nation. "But we have a situation that we just cannot let, we cannot let what's been going on for a long period of years continue," he added. The interview, conducted Saturday, comes a day after North Korea test launched what U.S. officials said was a short-range ballistic missile, a test prohibited by United Nations sanctions. The missile blew up shortly after launching, officials said. Trump praised his relationship with Chinese President Xi Jinping as very good and rebuffed criticism over backing down from his oft-repeated campaign trail promise to label China a currency manipulator. Trump reiterated in the Sunday interview that he believed China had stopped manipulating its currency, and stressed the importance of working with the nation over the threat of North Korea. "I believe that President Xi is working to try and resolve a very big problem for China also," Trump said, adding, "and that's North Korea. Can you imagine if I say, hey, by the way, how are you doing with North Korea? Also, we're going to announce that you're a currency manipulator tomorrow. Trump later added that the issue of North Korea was maybe more important than trade. Trade is very important. But massive warfare with millions, potentially millions of people being killed? That, as we would say, Trump's trade, he said. But Trump then questioned whether China could have potentially had a hand in meddling with the 2016 U.S. presidential election, despite U.S. intelligence agencies saying they believe the Russian government was involved in a covert campaign to attempt to influence the election. Knowing something about hacking, if you don't catch a hacker, okay, in the act, it's very hard to say who did the hacking, he said. With that being said, I'll go along with Russia. Could have been China, could have been a lot of different groups. Trump then added that we have to find out what happened, and that he and his campaign had nothing to do with any potential election meddling. Committees in both houses of Congress are currently investigating Moscow's involvement in the election, as well as links between Russia and various Trump allies. And as Trump marked his 100th day in office, he said he was thoroughly enjoying the job, and that while it was tough, he claims he's had jobs that were tougher. Well, it's a tough job. But I've had a lot of tough jobs. I've had things that were tougher, although I'll let you know that better at the end of 8 years, he said. Before becoming President of the United States, Trump was a real estate developer for most of his career after joining his father's company out of college, with stints as reality TV star, sports league owner, and writer. He is also in the World Wrestling Entertainment Hall of Fame. U.S. President Donald Trump offered some backhanded praise for North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, calling him a pretty smart cookie in a television interview that aired Sunday. Trump's almost admiring remarks came amid soaring tensions with North Korea over its missile and nuclear programs, with an alarmed Washington looking to China for help in reining in Kim. Trump said he had no idea whether Kim was sane or not, but said the North Korean leader had faced a formidable challenge in taking over the country at a reported age of 27 after his father's death in 2011. He's dealing with obviously very tough people, in particular the generals and others. And at a very young age, he was able to assume power, Trump said in the interview with CBS's Face the Nation. A lot of people, I'm sure, tried to take that power away, whether it was his uncle or anybody else. And he was able to do it. So obviously, he's a pretty smart cookie, he said. But we have a situation that we just cannot let, what's been going on for a long period of years continue, Trump added. North Korea test-fired another missile on Saturday, the latest in a drumbeat that has aroused U.S. fears that the regime may be close to developing an intercontinental ballistic missile capable of hitting the U.S. mainland with a nuclear warhead. South Korea said the latest test was a failure. Trump refused comment on whether the United States had anything to do with the test failure. It is a chess game. I just don't want people to know what my thinking is. So eventually, he will have a better delivery system. And if that happens, we can't allow it to happen. Hours before the North Korean test, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson warned of catastrophic consequences if the international community does not act more forcefully to sanction Pyongyang. The United States has deployed a naval strike group to the area led by the carrier USS Carl Vinson, which on Saturday began drilling with the South Korean Navy. As tensions between the U.S. and North Korea continued on Sunday, Donald Trump said North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was a pretty smart cookie for managing to hold onto power after taking over at a young age. People are saying, is he sane? Trump said, in a wide-ranging interview on CBS's Face the Nation, held to mark his 100th day in the White House. I have no idea. Trump's remarks echoed those made controversially to Reuters earlier in the week, when he said, he's 27 years old, his father dies, took over a regime, so say what you want but that's not easy, especially at that age. The president was speaking after Pope Francis made an appeal for third-party moderation to avoid a widespread war that would destroy a good part of humanity. Pyongyang is widely thought to be seeking a viable missile delivery system for a nuclear weapon, prompting military and diplomatic pressure from Washington. On Friday night it launched its 9th missile test in 100 days of the Trump administration. Like others, the test failed. "Perhaps they're just not very good missiles," Trump said. "But eventually, he'll have good missiles." Asked about the chance of a U.S. strike, Trump left the possibility open. "We shouldn't be announcing all our moves," he said. "It is a chess game. I just don't want people to know what my thinking is. So eventually, he will have a better delivery system. And if that happens, we can't allow it to happen." National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster told Fox News Sunday that though the missile launches represented a grave threat to the U.S., its Asian allies and China, North Korea's chief backer, what we prefer to do is to work with others, China included, to resolve this situation short of military action. That meant enforcing United Nations sanctions and perhaps ratcheting up those sanctions even further, McMaster said. And it also means being prepared for military operations if necessary. Trump praised his own diplomatic contact with Chinese President Xi Jinping, who visited the president's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida this month. "The relationship I have with China," Trump said, "it's been already acclaimed as being something very special, something very different than we've ever had. But again, we'll find out whether or not President Xi is able to effect change." The White House also faced criticism over a related diplomatic effort, a Saturday call between Trump and Rodrigo Duterte, president of the Philippines. Duterte is accused by human rights group of overseeing a brutal anti-drugs campaign in which as many as 7,000 people may have been killed by police and vigilante groups. The White House readout of the very friendly call said Trump praised Duterte's efforts against the drugs trade and invited him to visit the White House. Pressed on Duterte's human rights record on ABC's This Week, White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus said, "The purpose of this call is all about North Korea." He added, "It doesn't mean that human rights don't matter, but what it does mean is that the issues facing us developing out of North Korea are so serious that we need cooperation at some level with as many partners in the area as we can get to make sure we have our ducks in a row." Priebus added that Trump would speak with leaders of Singapore and Thailand on Sunday, prompted by the potential for nuclear and massive destruction in Asia. Separately, South Korea said McMaster had confirmed the U.S. will not be seeking payment for the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, THAAD, that is being installed in the south of the country. Trump said last week that he would make South Korea, an ally, pay $1 billion. The South Korean Defense Ministry has said that under an agreement reached during the Obama administration, South Korea offers the land and facilities for THAAD but does not cover the cost of operations. On Sunday, THAAD sites in South Korea saw protests from local residents, concerned North Korea may target such sites if war breaks out. In an interview on NBC's Meet the Press, Vice President Mike Pence said Trump would continue to call on the prosperous nations that the United States provides security and protection for to do more in their own defense. On CNN's State of the Union, Senator John McCain was asked about McMaster's apparent correction of his president on such a sensitive issue. Trump, McCain said, had surrounded himself with an outstanding national security team. "I can't guarantee to world leaders that he will always listen to that team, but he has so far," he said, adding, "Sometimes it's important to watch what the president does rather than what he says."